Welcome to FME Attention Undivided. Thank you for coming. My name is Dan O. I run freemusicempire.com, and my son saw his first Flow Rida music video today. Perfect reaction, perfect mixture of confusion and indifference. So I am joined here today. This is the best way to describe these two is the description they gave, which is the Tara Patrick of this blog era rap shit.
Yes, I like that.
About Tanya Morgan.
Absolutely.
I mean, thank you for coming. So twofold, right? Thank you for coming here because you just released your best album, Don and Von, which is unbelievable.
Thank you.
And we'll get into it. But also because I started Free Music Empire the end of 2010, maybe. I didn't have dreams of becoming a music writer. Honestly, I just thought the people doing music reviews were a little bit racist. And I wanted that to be less so. So you guys were at the heart of this wave of music that changed everything. With just really cool, exciting music that was different, that was individual. And so hopefully I can talk to you a little bit about the history, where you've been, where you are, and what you've seen along the way. So that's really cool. I appreciate
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Thanks for having us.
Have us on. That's a fair amount of time to be running a site. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you didn't want to be a journalist, so to speak. You just kind of let the journey take you to the destination.
No, I mean, I'm a writer, a short story writer, all these different kind of things. And so I started to realize music was necessary to write. So I was really excited about it. And then I would read the reviews and I'd be like, ugh, what did they say about currency? This is weird. They were just, it felt like a lot of the writers were 40-year-old white dudes from Baltimore who were mad Smashing Pumpkins wasn't a thing anymore and just had to write about it.
I hear you on that, yeah. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so it was, and they weren't from the culture. They so you could see that. And I think, honestly, that's hit you guys a little bit, right? You guys got a 5.8 on Pitchfork back when that meant something. Back when that was
that was a ridiculous review. Yeah.
I mean, the politics of the record review industry, and not the record review industry, but just that whole media thing. There's so many different factors and drivers that go into it. It definitely was at a time when it meant something, and it was very important. In that era, it had a certain level of prestige. But looking back, everything is grain of salt level. You know what I'm saying? I understand viewpoints subjective. I understand that I understand the institution is writing about you. You know what I'm saying? Or the publication rather is writing about you. Just the writer's motive. There's so many things in play when it comes to just that score or talking about somebody's music that I don't know. I definitely didn't have this point of view back then, but now I'm just kind of well, at least you talked about it.
Yeah, it can go either way sometimes, but yeah, definitely that one. When I saw that one, I was like, yeah, did you even really give it a shot, or did you just skim through and that was the assignment for the day? You know what I mean?
Right. No, and I'm not trying to put anybody else on blast. Like I said, I'm not a journalist. I don't do it, but I follow it like sports, right? So that was Brooklynati, Pitchfork review.
Yeah.
Written by Ian the Hammer Cohen. We used to call him the Hammer because 89% of his reviews were just shredding people,
Yeah.
And so they would bring him in, and if it was a fancy rock album, he liked it, but he was brought in to shred most of the stuff. And so
I didn't even know that. So you just taught me something.
No, he was like that. He was brought in to hammer.
I think I read like an article about him. Like somebody like kind of just explained his role. Like, and again, like that's why I'm just familiar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're trying to figure out how to get another review at a publication and you research the person who wrote the last article and you hear like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's
They were probably most like stuck on the name or whatever.
well, yeah, they had the whole. You guys were caught up in that. That review is the reason I brought it up. I don't want to like bring up bad stuff. I think it's an important thread in the blog era, right? During the blog era, a lot of people were accused of being nostalgic, right? They were like, there was a lot of pointing, like you're nostalgic, you're trying to be and the headline on that was like, you guys are trying to be native tongues.
Right.
And it was a time when, like, if you were rapping over a trap beat, that was like you were part of the new school. You were cool, you know.
And that's all it took. Yeah.
but you know, I would even go a step to say like those experiences definitely become a part of the fabric of who you go on to be in a way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you get good reviews the first time out and then get panned the second time out or panned the first time out, like it's possible to let that kind of put a chip on your shoulder or a battery in your back. One of the two, but it energizes you in a certain way. And unless you live in a vacuum, you can't just not pay attention to the way a person receives your art. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think that, I think that more than anything, we had enough going on behind the scenes and enough going on, like just with being interested in making the music that we make, that I won't say that those reviews didn't affect us, but they definitely didn't. Like we were fine, you know what I'm saying? We weren't sitting up at night like Ian Cohen and Pitchfork.
Right. No, it's you and you,
But
because you
we
guys were
take
like,
notice of it.
Yeah,
you guys were grown at the time. You know what I mean? You guys were like stepping into this, you know, very, you know, knowing who you were, you know.
Yeah.
But like, you know who I think of with like criticism and the way criticism affects a career, is Mac Miller, because everybody loves Mac Miller now, but
Yeah, they gave him a hard time.
he had a really rough go. Yeah.
He caught some of the hardest, most negative reviews I had ever seen. And it was like when he was like an 18-year-old kid, you know, making music about smoking weed, you know, during class or something, you know, like.
Yeah, what he should have been doing, you know?
and they were like, this kid is immature, he's irritating, he's dumb. And he took that in and he tried to go fancy and go the other direction. And it took him years to pull himself together and be like, fuck all that. Like, I'm going to be me.
And like he showed everybody he was super talented and like proved a lot of people wrong and proved his fans right. Like the people that got on board with him, you know?
Right. Because ultimately, the people who write negative reviews, they're either going to go away or stay there, but they're not going to be with you in your career.
Right.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And again, like you were saying, there are some publications and some people like that they just have a vendetta. You know what I'm saying? Some people get into writing because they love hip hop, and if they're forced to cover things outside of hip hop, it wouldn't be as the critique wouldn't be as like good as a person that was like really into whatever genre they're sent to critique. You know, it is kind of wonky of Pitchfork to send a person to shred people's albums, like, and that's kind of like what he did, but it is also kind of like Pitchfork's deal. It's not like a, you know what I'm saying? It's not like what the source has been shaving people's mic scores, which again, like that's one of those things where they absolutely, like sometimes the source reviews wouldn't reflect the mic score because when you get down to like the granular aspect of it, the actual review and the mic rating are two separate things decided by two separate people. Somebody submits an article or review, and then a committee decides on the rating. So again, they're not married to one another. That's how you get so many albums that had to be re-reviewed because it was done by committee and not by the actual, you see what I'm saying? But like all that to say, again, this is like a granular view of hip hop journalism that you don't have this level of like insight when you put out your first record. No. And when you just want to get a review. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I wanted to say, like, so in hindsight, the whole nostalgia critique, my thing about this is that I think what people missed was that there are some sounds that are in the DNA of regions.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
It's
not
just
like
it was
people,
traditional.
it's not like people in Tennessee are trying to do 3-6 Mafia. It's in the
Yeah.
DNA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like what you guys were doing and how you carried yourself, it may remind people of De La Soul or whatever, but that's because that's kind of in the DNA of what's around. You're always going to have that
Exactly.
coming out of New York.
Exactly. And they couldn't see that. And even to this day, it's a lot of people that can't see that, and they're just stuck on, oh, you're trying to sound like this. And I see it as like, no, that's more of a tradition thing. It's not like we're not trying to do anything. It's just who you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mhm.
So I'm happy that you could see that. You know?
Yeah, no, it was instructive. And to to Don's point, when I started writing reviews, the two kinds of reviews that I hated writing the most, that I just don't anymore, are the two you mentioned, right? The like three mics out of 5. Why am I writing about this?
Yeah.
Right.
If it's okay, why are who wants to read my 1,500 words about it being okay? Let's move on. If
Yeah.
if
I would rather pick a side. Be like, I hate this or I love it. I would rather somebody
Yeah.
say, I don't like this and this is why. Or I
right,
like this and you should check it out. But if you wasting everybody's time, if you're just saying, yeah, this was cool. I mean, it was all right. Like, who
Right.
cares?
no, it's just true. And the other one is the negative review. The problem with the negative review is I would write a negative review about an artist and be like, this sucks. And then the next year they put out an album that I love. And I realized I just hadn't figured them out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That like sometimes you just don't have the keys to open the doors, you know?
Yeah, that can happen too.
And I will
For
say this
sure.
about, I've written a few reviews about things, and I've also like put out music, and I've also enjoyed music. But the one variable that journalists and critics don't have the benefit of is time. Like you can't, you don't get, especially now. Before then, they would send you promos. You have a few weeks to listen to the album, live with it, think about it, like do the whole thing. Now it's just like Drake drops the album at midnight. You have to hear it with everybody else, unless you're like part of some, you know what I'm saying? Like just the like it's less of a review and more of an informed reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not really
Yeah,
like, it's not really
it's
like
more
you get,
reaction.
yeah, like you don't get to, like, because again, like, not to get too in the weeds on other people's music, but an album, I won't name the album, but an album came out a couple weeks ago that I just was not interested in hearing. I played it.
Yep.
I tried to play it 2 or 3 times and I was like, eh. And then one day it just hit me. And I'm like, okay, this album is good. Okay, I'm actually enjoying it now. And
Yep.
like you would have, if I would have traveled back in time and told myself a couple of weeks ago, like, yo, you're gonna like this album, I would be like, get the fuck out of here.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the cool part about like, so since I'm not doing any of that shit, I get to sit on shit as long as I want, you know?
But
So like there was an R&B album that I love, Jeanette King. And it's great. It's like What I Lost or something. And I sat on it for weeks and weeks and was just banging it. And I was like, you know what? Now it's time. And I wrote the review and it was great. She loved it. And so it was a good experience to be able to sit with it and let it grow with you. So
Nobody does that anymore. Oh, like very few people do that still.
yeah, even outside of the music review space, just in life, people kind of move too fast through stuff.
Right. It's hard to keep up with everything, you know?
But in terms of the blog era, what do you think were the long-term effects of the blog era? Positive, negative? What do you think came out of that?
I think a huge thing that came out of it was a lot of us built a lot of the infrastructure that's used today. I mean, like the pipes of streaming audio can be found in MySpace. The pipes of like the analytics could be found in like mailing lists and MailChimp and like capturing that data, Bandcamp and capturing that data. When you think about like everything from everything from knowing how to like, I'm putting out an album, I gotta have an image that fits SoundCloud and Instagram and Twitter, like knowing those kind of like things that, again, like it's not like you press up an album on CD and just give them the JPEG cover art. Like you have to think through all these machinations of how to like get your music properly distributed and put out. And the bones of that is just the blog era. The bones of that is like a couple kids that just wanted to like have their MP3s on websites, so you understand JPEGs and MP3s. And like I was thinking about this earlier today, and this is kind of related, but like, you know, as indie artists, you function as like you have to do every job that a label would do.
Totally.
And a lot of those jobs didn't exist before the blog era, you know?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, like even like the social media stuff. It's like that's a new label job. And to figure out how to maneuver, you have people that you could have been at Def Jam or wherever from day one, but you had to figure out the internet the same exact time that Tyler the Creator did. You know what I mean? And you have the kids that like even with us, when I say blog ever, I still feel like we were like the middle kids, almost like guinea pigs. You know what I mean? Because people that came after us really figured it out. And we were figuring it out on the go, and they were watching us being like, you know what they need? If you can shoot a video for every song, you just need a 5D camera. And we were like, oh, we still need to shoot a $10,000 video. And like there's things that generations after us figured out that a lot of us are still just figuring out now, to be honest.
Yeah, like and to your point, when you think about it, YouTube didn't exist to premiere video and like didn't exist to be a destination for music videos. It was just like a parking lot for digital content that you created. Like you just needed somewhere to house the stuff. It had embeddable links. It was fine. It worked there. It was like a cupboard. And
you know what's funny? No, I was gonna say, you know what's funny? I was thinking about it when Brooklyn Natty came out. The So Damn Down, we were getting fans from So Damn Down being on MTV2.
Yeah.
We would still meet people like, I saw your video on MTV2. So after that, when we put out like You and What Army, and we would get like Rock the Bells was like a well-reviewed, not like we got a lot of hits or views or whatever on Rock the Bells. We didn't even understand what that meant. We just know that we had just came from Europe, and I guess we picked up some eyes, and you know, it reflected in that video, but it was no more MTV. And ever since then, we've been like, well, what did we do that time? And it's like it just lightning struck. And a lot of this stuff we're still just figuring it out.
Yeah, you know, like honestly, just to, I guess, to put a button, like I think about this all the time, like how a lot of the social media sites are just like, it was called microblogging for a while, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's still called that, but when you think about it, it's just like a bunch of comment sections. Like, because the comment section of the blog used to be where it was at. That was where, like, comment sections were Twitter. Like, the Not Right comment section is epic. You know what I'm saying?
That's real. That's
absolutely. Real. Absolutely.
They're like big ghosts. Like, there are people who literally, like they're actual people in the real world doing things, but they were just commenters. And like even down to your personal blogs, again, like my personal blog, while it wasn't like some huge thing, I had a very active comment section. Like, you know, there was a lot of times where I would crowdsource information or like, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And that was like, that's almost like your analytics, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you just think about what you go to these different websites for, it's basically just, they just took the blog and blew it the fuck out. You know what I'm saying?
And my favorite blog story that kind of fits what you're talking about was like, so there's a time on Two Dope Boys where what they decided to do was when Young Buck dropped a new song, if it sucked, they would put a picture of a baby deer.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was great, it would be an actual picture of him. And what happened was I was listening to more Young Buck than I ever had been just because of this game. And Young Buck was into it. And he was like actively trying to put out music they liked. Community aspect of it in some weird way.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that in like 10 years, for real.
Yeah, because it's because you end up understanding that platform and its audience. You know what I'm saying? So like the funny thing is that the major labels did not like the blogs, but the major labels just did not understand how to monetize the blogs. And if anything, corporations just care about monetizing their intellectual property. So it's not about you as an artist or your music or whatever. It's about, hey, you're sharing our product, like you're giving away our product, and we need you to like give us money for our product. You can license it from us, but we don't know how to do anything like that because this is the internet. It's the Wild West. Like, so you can't do anything with anything, you know?
Oof. No, it that feels like the ultimate takeaway was that the blog era thinned the distance between the artists and the audience, because
Absolutely.
the labels were always, as you said, detached and kind of, here's your Hype Williams video, take it and enjoy. And like now there was like an active community aspect of different audiences, and DJ Booth is over here and they like this stuff, and Nah Right's over here, they like this stuff. So it was different.
Yeah, and it was, it was initially, it was definitely based on who you were a fan of, but when it becomes that big, it just got that big. So like the reason we would always be up there on like Too Dope and everything is because literally in '07 we just started emailing Shake and Mecca and SK and just sending them stuff, and it was like, yo, this is dope. And it was all good, but then it turned into like, yo, it was never intended to be like a gatekeeper thing. It was like, we think this is dope, and we don't think this is dope. But when you become, they just became powerful.
They became a voice, yeah.
Yeah, so it was as simple as, hey, we just don't think our future is dope. But it turned into, they took it as, they looked at them like, hey, y'all are keeping us off the radio. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we just don't think you're dope. And, then it started this whole like, it's funny, but another counterculture, like a blog counterculture of kids like, we can't get on the blog, so we're gonna figure out Tumblr. There's always some like new punk rock way to go against what ends up becoming, what ends up becoming like the gatekeeper. Even if you're not, they would trust me. Like I still talk to Mecca and Shake to this day, and they never were trying to be Hot 97 or MTV or whatever the fuck. It just turned into everybody cared what they thought, So if they don't think your song is hot, that becomes a problem. It never was a payola thing and none of that,
Mm-hmm. No, it was. Well, what were you going to say, Don?
I don't. I would just chiming in, ad-libbing Bond. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that it's weird because you find that like people will get drunk on incredibly minimal amounts of power.
Yeah.
And like that's what happened with the blog era. Like, but it's not uncommon. Like I was watching a documentary about Rolling Stone in the 70s, right? And they're interviewing the staff and the editors. And I came away from it being like, God, these guys are jerks. Like they were so entitled. They were so like, I made this group, and it was just like, oh, it was just creeped me out. But it reminded me of this kind of stuff where people get too inspired by their own gatekeeper stuff. But the blog era stuff leads me to a different question. So years ago in the blog era, there were rap groups. Like I was thinking about this: Tanya Morgan, Pac Div, Cool Kids. I mean, there were like lots of fun groups to listen to, and then it kind of went out of fashion for a while, and there was really no groups. And now it seems like groups are back a little bit. There's a fair amount of that happening in the underground scene. How do you think, like, how do you digest those ebbs and flows of what happens with rap groups and people doing it or not doing it?
The group thing to me I think some people just kept hearing that groups don't work, and some people just took that and said, I guess groups don't work. And some people disbanded, and some people just naturally, it becomes business. And especially especially post a label putting you together.
Mhm.
Like nobody put us together, nobody put you and I together, nobody put like Fly Union together or Pac Div. They're like
Mhm.
literal brothers.
Right.
At least two of them. But yeah, like nobody put Blue and Exile together. They became a group. But what ends up happening is like it was three of us, but friendship goes into, okay, this becomes a business and it becomes real life and becomes, we're adults. We're not 18-year-olds running around. And even if we were 18-year-olds running around, real life is going to kick in to them also, or immaturity is going to kick in. It's like you're 19, and if you a guy, you trying to fuck every night. You never had this much money. You never had a new car. You don't know what to do with this attention, and that can just take over your whole shit. And if you're older, then real life kicks in, and you gotta be around your kid more, or you can't. It gets hard to find part-time jobs in between tours, stuff like that. So that stuff started to kick in, and also it's just not it's not enough money to break down. Like we know some groups, and behind closed doors, we talk like, man, how do y'all split? How do you split show money, man? It's like, how do y'all do it? But it's that kind of thing. And I think also it went back to collectives. Like I always put a hard line on when like TDE. I want to say like when Drake got really big. So let's call that Young Money. That's a collective. TDE is a collective. Our Future is a collective. Around that time, when they all got big, it was like crews are back, and we have a crew, but our crew wasn't super packaged together and marketed like other crews are. And
Right.
you should be. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. You should be packaged and marketed as well as you can. I don't make your music any less authentic or whatever. Because I mean, shit, Wu-Tang, whoever you name, had a package. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, TDE came out and they had a star with Kendrick. Lil Wayne found two huge stars with Collective. Again, Our Future had stars. So these crews came out, but they had a solo star. And then you had like Pac Div was pretty fucking big at the time. We was waiting for Pac Div to go platinum,
Right.
but they were 100% their collective. They were like a group. It wasn't like, I can't wait till so-and-so solo or nothing like that. It was like,
Right.
we love Pac Div. And the
Mhm.
closest they had to solo was like maybe, like I used to pair like Dom Kennedy with them. He was like a individual Pac Div, I guess, if you
Right.
want to say it like that. He had his own shit, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. That
And
vibe. Yeah.
I think when it came to that, it was like this is a group. There's no like, we're waiting for the Method Man album, we're waiting for the Tyler album. And that, I think that came to hurt groups overall. And if you look at every group that didn't blow up, if quote unquote,
Mm.
there was no like one standout person to go and stand behind. Like even if you look at Griselda, the standout keeps changing. Like initially it was West Side, and then it was like, yo, everybody, you hear Conway, and now
Right.
it's like, yo, everybody, you hear Benny. So
Right.
it's like,
Right.
and that's you have to know how to do that. It's like, yo, this is the person that's taking features right now, and okay, you can get a Benny feature right now, you can get a Conway feature right now, or whoever. It's like that. And as far as other groups, I mean, like Migos, you look at them, it's like everybody's on Quavo, and then Offset. It's like, well, Offset has a superstar girl, so all right, now it's Offset's turn. Quavo went and chilled, and
Right.
then it's all about Offset. Then it's like, yo, y'all sleeping on Takeoff. Well, let's go Takeoff, go do everything. And it's still like, yeah, we're a group, but groups are low key moving like collectives when you look at it. So I think that's why groups seem to be back. It's really still just solos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it seems like, and it took Migos a while to get on where they are, right?
Yeah.
They had to build slowly because, as you said, they were so connected with each other, right? That you weren't, if you were casual listening, you wouldn't even pick out who was standout what. It flowed together. Uh, and yeah, I think you mentioned that like draft class, right? So we're talking
Mhm.
about J. Cole, Big Crit, Drake, Kendrick. We're talking like, Gibbs, all that stuff. Like that draft class, you started to get like personal journey albums that were solo
Yeah,
stuff, you
those
know?
were the cats that in my opinion, those were the cats that they came right after like the people that were figuring out the internet. You know what I mean? Like you had cats that were figuring out the internet, like us and like your little brothers and people like
Mhm.
that. Even Lupe,
Yep.
I would even put him in there, like people that are figuring out the internet. And then you have people that like, okay, we're walking into this label, or we're walking in as our own. I have a team. Like I'm not coming in on my own. I'm coming in with the team. I got a videographer. I have a manager. I have a publicist. And you think I got a deal? Some people did, but like it was like, yo, I'm walking through the door like this, and I got a buzz in my city, and blah blah blah, and then I'm getting online. Whereas you have some people that straight up kind of built online like us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Don, I used to say this to people when people would come up to me and say Kendrick is the best rapper alive. I would say he has the best team alive. Um,
Word.
and that's to me, it is. It's not about labels. It's about teams right now. And
Well,
who's
yeah, I mean, I would say, talent is definitely part of the equation, but it's not the common denominator anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many, if you look at Nas X's rollout, I mean, that's one of the most masterful things that we've seen in a long time. If you look at
really?
Tyler the Creator's rollout, masterful. And you can like kind of go back years and years and throughout the eras and look at rollouts in themselves. And even before the blog era, you can just look at album rollouts, and that can be an art amongst itself. Like music aside, you don't even have to listen to the music. So, there's a talent and ability to that. But when you apply the DIY blog era aesthetic to it, it becomes like, okay, like a lot of these kids realize, like watching us kind of build the road as we drove, or watching our era build the road, build the road as we drive. Like a lot of those kids looked like, well, if I know how to do all this, what do I need to go to a label for? Like a lot of us were doing it in hopes that we would get noticed by a label. We would get noticed by a bigger indie label. And then like you would see these, every year you would see classes of people break up. Like you would see cats get signed to majors, then cats get put to the big indies, then cats just did it themselves.
And sometimes the labels would like put people down, like somebody would get signed. We'd be like, yo, congratulations. So and so just signed to whoever. And then it like the momentum would freaking slow down instead of
Yeah.
speeding up. And that used to frustrate me so much because I'm not naming any names, but some of my favorite artists would be like, yo, congratulations, so and so just signed. And then it's like, man, you was rolling without the label. And then you got on the label and it's like, yeah, we signed you now. Go figure out a single. And it's
Oh,
like, but they were fucking rolling. And now they're not rolling. Like, I think one of the most brilliant things about Kendrick was he signed to Dr. Dre. And
yeah.
even with signing to Dre, he said, I'm still going to do my own thing, which is crazy. Anybody in this world would have said, oh, Dr. Dre, I'm about to get 10 Dr. Dre beats. Fuck that. And he said, nah, I'm going to still just do my thing.
And,
And that was genius to me.
And I think he had a
what's
bar
even
on. Oh, go ahead.
what's even crazier about that is Dr. Dre at that time, and I don't know like if the reputation still carries, but it's notorious that if Dre was like a black hole, you signed to him, you'd never come out.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you do come out, like Busta Rhymes, Busta cried. You know what I'm saying? Like when he finally got his album out, because it was just like, but the Aftermath album was the album we were all like, is that ever gonna? I guess it's not gonna happen. You could name
Like,
I mean, you can name for days artists that have been signed to labels in general that never came out, but the folklore of Dre's unreleased albums and his vault.
like,
Kinda,
he has
yeah.
amazing music that's just never come out. I hear it from people, like, man, it's just because, you know, I mean, when you're that good, like, he's literally changed the game
Right.
multiple times. So it's like, I have to change the game. I can't just put out a dope album. So unfortunately, man, like, at the end of the day, he's still a person. And so he has his insecurities, like, yo, this ain't gonna change the game, you know, which is crazy, but yeah.
But it's it's a real creator thing, right? So as a creator, sometimes the editor becomes more powerful than the creator in you, right?
Mhm.
And so
Right.
doesn't like any of your shit, you know. And that's I think that happened to Dre along the way. His ear got so refined that he was just like hating on his own shit.
So yeah, but somehow, all that to say that somehow they figured out, like, all right, we want to put out, because, you know, Section 80 dropped, and I was like, oh, it's no Dre on here. That was a surprise. But then, you know, the album, and I was like, yo, it's no Dre. Oh, and it's considered a classic. And like, at that point, I think he was like, yo, he had to have one Dre's respect with that. Like, yo, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna put a classic on your label, and you won't even have to do nothing. You just gotta trust me, which is super ill.
And I think there's a bar on Good Kid, Mad City where he says like, if Dre tries to give me a handout, I'm gonna bite it.
I take his hand and break it. Yeah, that was on Spiteful Chant. I think that's the song.
Yes, that's
Section 80. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's
when I heard that, I was like, oh shit.
different.
Yeah.
But that is blog era, like, you know, yeah, understanding his team, sticking with his team, and sticking with his sound and developing it out. And that's so that's interesting. But the personal journey albums, I think, drew people to individual stories. And like Don and Von as an example, you're probably not going to listen to Don and Von and go, oh, Von killed him on that track, or Don killed him on that track. This is an album that feels like the old Far Side albums felt, where just everything fits. The relationships are strong, everything fits, and it's just a song. It's just a great song.
Thank you. Yeah, this is from 17 years of war. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to say it like that, because I mean it's been a great ride so far, and God willing, the ride's still going. But we've been in the trenches for real, like, and you hear it, like, it just sounds like two people that have just been through a lot together and know each other so well that it's almost like, I compare it to that Locks verses. When you look at that Locks verses and how, like, you didn't even realize Styles stopped rapping at one point, because Jadakiss just started going and sounded like Styles. And just like, you knew he was gonna stop there, and then you went. And it's like, yeah, because we've been doing this so long that this is on a different level. This is not, yo, let's do a song. This is, I had an idea and I hit him up and he's like, yo, I just had that same idea. And it's not even like a thing anymore. Like, we'll have the same idea and it's not even like, oh shit, we got the same idea. It's just like, yeah, yep. You thought of that? I was thinking about that too. Like, it's not even a thing. It's like, you think that would sound better? Yep. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, we don't even have to say it anymore. And that's years of, you know, getting it out the mud, man. And I say I don't even say this in a cocky way when I say it's like, it's masterful in a way that, not masterful like these are the best songs ever made, but masterful like, you can master something. That don't mean it's perfect. That just means you mastered it. And I think we created just a masterful collaboration, really.
Yeah, like
And you know, it has nothing to do with the quality of it, you know, in my opinion.
Mhm.
like we know our ingredients at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
to the effect that like if you put me in a random kitchen and was like, all right, make a meal, I don't have like, sure, I can make something, but if you put me in my kitchen,
Mm.
we've been living in this kitchen for 17 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, or we've just been, we're so comfortable with ourselves and our styles, and it's not about we don't second guess ourselves anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
because again, when you're figuring out what your voice is as an artist or like what your strengths are, sure, like you're just kind of like, you know, like you're doing the giraffe, like baby calf legs when you're trying to walk. Like you'll get there, but it might not be the most graceful. Whereas this is just like firing on all cylinders and understanding exactly who we are and how we can convey that to the world. And also, you know, with what I was saying earlier about how sometimes those reviews can shape you early on. Like, I don't think I make music at this point to share with Von. Like we have our own ecosystem. Like we have our own infrastructure. Like I'll throw beats in the group chat, or like like he'll throw a verse in the group chat or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not like for anything other than to, I won't say we're doing it, it's not masturbatory. It's not we're trying to entertain ourselves, but it's just that we're very much comfortable with our abilities, you know?
Yeah, we know what we're trying to get to, and it's not a bunch of second guessing. It's still checks and balances, but it's not we're not looking over our shoulder like, will they like this? I hope they like this. It's like, this is what we're trying to do, and if we do it right, it's gonna be good. Not we hope they like it, but if we do it right, it'll be good. If it doesn't sound good, it's because we did something wrong. And to me, that just, again, I hope that don't sound arrogant. It's just like, hey, if I've been shooting hoops for 20 years, if I've been sitting at this free throw line for 20 years, and I figured out my shot, if it don't go in, it's because I did something wrong. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of artists feel that way, whether they say it or not. It's like, you may not like the song, but this is the song we were trying to make. And like, even with this album, I still get surprised at certain songs. I'm like, I hope people like this one, but that song we made the song we were trying to make. Like, I know a lot of people really like A-Team, and I was thinking people may not like it, but it fits. This is where A-Team should be on the album, and it should be here, and this is where it goes. And people might skip this one, but this is the scene in the album. You know what I mean? And it ended up people like it. And then other ones, it's like, I might think, oh, this is going to be a favorite. And it may not be a favorite, but it's still a good song. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, we just know, like, hey, you may not like spaghetti, but we made spaghetti, and we didn't, you know, pour Gatorade in it. So it's like, it's good spaghetti. You may not like it, but it's still good. You know what I mean?
So
Right.
where does Don and Von rank in the funnest Tanya Morgan albums you've ever made? The process of making.
Oh, damn. The most fun was Sandwich Shop. Sandwich Shop was the most fun because that's the one that we made it, a lot of it in the same room, and we started it while we were on the road, and we started doing like demo recordings to it, like in the phone recordings or whatever. But we like went and re-recorded it at Don's house, and I think we just had like I was saying on my Instagram, because I just did like a retrospective of every album, and we just had like cheap Trader Joe's wine and just got drunk off that, and just pulled up all of these roots instrumentals and made these songs, and it ended up working, and people really liked that, like it's a real album. And even Questlove liked it. He was like, yo, this is dope. He wasn't like, I'm gonna sue you motherfuckers. He was like, this is dope.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that was the most fun, because we were in the same room. We don't always do that. I mean, the albums are always fun, but we were in the same room for that one. And we don't always do that. So
yeah, I agree. And like that album was like that album was definitely an era of time for us. It was right before Ilyas left the group. It was right, we were touring heavily. I had just moved to New York. Like I was kind of just living in New York for my first time. What else? And like even
things were about to fall apart. The storm was coming, but we didn't know.
But so the thing about it is that like it just felt like a time that was full of promise in general. You know what I'm saying? Like we were because if I'm not mistaken, that was around the time like Rubber Tracks was popping off. So we would be like, we were just bouncing around doing things.
You had just put out Don Cusack. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit ahead of that. But yeah, it was definitely just like a moment, like, at least for me anyway, it just felt like if you listen to the intro of UN1 Army, like that introduction, like that whole the weight of that is a counterpart to everything that we're talking about with Sandwich Shop. Because again, like even the Headphone Rock video where we're like that was just a day that we would have. We just kind of got burgers and filmed it. You know what I'm saying? Like things were very magical in this way that can only be your first time out, your first time discovering something, the first time you do a thing. Sure, you'll get better at it, and sure, you might even benefit from it greater. But when you're discovering it for the first time, and like it was just a magical era. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I said, that was right before the storm. Because like if you go to the UN1 Army intro, that was like us putting the armor back on. You know what I mean? It's like we was doing we did the Sandwich Shop, and the next project that was coming out was P's Gotta Have It, and that was when like our A&R, I guess, Dom, our A&R left the label, and Ilyas had left the group because like just real life stuff. It wasn't like fighting or nothing like that. It was just real life things that he had to do, and things we were doing. We weren't able to all tour together, and we had already had a time when it was like, hey man, I think I should just step away from being full-time in the group. And the first time we was like, nah man, nah, we can make it work. And it's like we started having like to like go to Europe without him and go on like 2-month-long tours without him and stuff like that. And it started especially with our management at the time, it started turning into like, hey, we're not getting the whole group, so y'all are cheating us and that kind of thing. And like I said, just personal stuff with him and not being able to always come out and just a lot of that stuff. So things started getting harder there. Things got harder at the label because our point person at the label was gone, and like the climate had just started to change, and like the Sandwich Shop was the last. It was like almost a celebration of Brooklyn Addy and where we were going. And from there, the next thing we did was UN1 Army, when we strapped up, put the armor back on, and was like, okay, gloves back on, we coming back out. So like even I want to say Rubber Souls was really fun too, but Rubber Souls was fighting to come back out. So that's why I can't say it was
Rubber Souls. Yeah. Rubber Souls was in a way like trying to figure out our place in a way, like in a business sense. Because if you think about Rubber Souls, like we assigned to we were doing stuff with Converse, Rubber Tracks, and then we have signed a deal with a new label, Imprint 180, that we haven't really worked with before. So it was just like there was a lot of, like trying to figure out how to be independent, but also have resources, and how to be a duo.
And how to be a duo, yeah.
There was just a lot of figuring things out going on around that era. And, like with us being who we are, there was also that level of like, well, how do we do it and explore creativity at the same time? So we should bring 6 Cents in for a couple of features, or we should do blah, blah, blah. Like just making sure that, we are pushing ourselves and giving it a creative sheen. But like to go back on what Von was saying too a little bit, we also, we came in as a group and soloists at the same time. So there was always this kind of like this unspoken contract where, we could unspoken agreement where we just do solo stuff. It wasn't like a big thing for a Donwill record or a Von Pea record or Ilyas record. It was just kind of like he's working out some ideas, like whatever. Or not even that. It's just that's just part of the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I know that able to contract and expand and contract is one of the reasons why we still have a great relationship with Ilias to this day. Like me and Bond are able to, what, 17 years? I don't know, like forever. We're able to just keep,
17.
like, you want to do an album? Yeah, let's do an album. Because it's not like there's just a lot of freedom in the way we create art, you know?
And to
Yeah,
put-
it's definitely not pulling teeth, because we wouldn't be doing it if it was pulling teeth. It's literally, let's do something creative. You know, like I consider Don my creative partner more than anything.
Right.
Like let's do something. You know, it don't even have to be an album. Like it could be whatever, just something creative. You know.
And to build on what Don said, it kind of leads me to my next question, which is, it's not just that you two have been together for 17 years. If you listen to Brooklynati from 2009, Shay Grand is on it, and Shay Grand is on Don and Von.
And Shay Grant sent us his new EP today. It's not out yet, but it's like I was saying, it's like, yeah, man, we still it's still the same crew.
I think Elucid is on Brooklynati as well, and
Yep.
Von just dropped the crazy secret project with him.
Yeah.
You get, there's these people, Cooley Hop.
In the words of Von Pea, y'all wave hop, we keep the same features. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
it's not, because they're not features. They're friends that we make music with. They're people that we know. They're like us having a Shay Graham feature is the same as like somebody else getting a call from their high school buddy they still go get drinks with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Pretty much.
No, and that was ultimately like the keeping these long-lasting relationships, like through the positives and the negatives of the business. That's got to be something that's like important. And how do you do that? But also, how has being able to do that helped your career and formed where you are?
I think really I never fully thought about it, but I think mainly because we keep everything pretty transparent as far as any business workings go. Like if we any collaborative project, like Aeon's another member of the Legendary Collective. If we do a project, then it's 50-50. Shay Grand produced one of our albums. Everything was in threes. We're Dawn and myself are actually producing a new Rob Cave EP, aka Spec Boogie, and it'll just be in threes. And we just make it real easy. It's not like, hey man, I was in 2 more magazines than you, so I'm gonna get some more. Or hey man, you did a song with so-and-so last year, so your clout is up. So now, hey man, holler at my lawyer. And it's like, for what? It's just like, we're making music, and that's how we got here. Like, that's how we got here. Don't like, the one time I will say, and I don't mind telling this story, but Germicide, another member of the Legendary, he was doing a project with somebody, and that person hit me up like, yo man, how much for a verse or whatever. So I told him a price, and then Germicide hit me up like, yo, I'm sending you that money. And it's like, money for what? And he's like, the money, so-and-so just told you to do a song for us. And I was like, bro, you're Germicide. No, don't send me anything. He's like, nah, man, I'm sending you money. It's like, I feel like shit now, because you're like, we are not in business together. You are like, you're in the fraternity with me. This is like the crew. This is like, I call it a fraternity. It's like, this is the frat. You're here. When I see you and something is going on, you're a part of it too. Like it'll never be like, if we were at South by Southwest and I saw Elucid or somebody, then we together. Like, if he saw us and we trying to get in, then we with him, like we would Arm and Hammer. Arm and Hammer with Tanya Morgan or whatever. And that's just how it's always been. It's like, because we're the frat. We all go back 17 plus years. The first song I did with Elucid was in 2001. The first song I did with Spec Boogie was 2001. First song I did with Don was like 2002. So yeah, like we go back that far. So for me, it's just like, it's a fraternity, and I treat it like that. It's not like have my people call your people thing. It's what you want to do. Hey, I could be if I hadn't spoken to Shay in 3 years, and he's like, "Hey man, can you hop on this song?" And I could be sitting in the studio with Kanye or somebody, and I'd be like, "Yep." As soon as I leave the studio with Kanye West, I'm about to go jump on this song with my frat brother. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's as simple as that.
Such a great description. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that makes sense. To talk about Von P to Donwill for a second, while Von P listens. Von P production is fantastic.
Man, thank you.
I love Von P production so much. Talk to me about how you've heard his music evolve over time.
Oh man, like so just hearing him figure out how to like apply the sonics to the ideas, like because again, like if the first track I thought about was a joint. He had a joint called Scissors, where I think the snare was a scissor.
Oh my God, the hi-hats.
Yeah, the hi-hats were scissors, and like for me, like I remember hearing that and just fucking being blown away. Like, man, this is crazy. And then like when you think about Get Me Inside, the kick drum is like he got the I don't know who's saying but there's like a vocal pad on the kick,
Yeah.
and like
I sampled the kick with the vocal on it. Yeah.
yeah, like so. When you go to like fast forward to like the more recent stuff he's done to on City for Sale, the transition from Wild to what's the song with Moses Rockwell? I forget the name of the song.
Steve Hope.
Like if you listen to like Wild is a song that comes in two movements. Like it has like the song and then there's like an interlude overture thing that happens towards the end, but there's like this vocal sample that's like swirling around in that, and then that just morphs into the first line of the next song. Like literally watching him figure out watching him go from being like, I wonder how I EQ a conversation to make it sound like it's going from outside of a venue to inside of a venue, or like sound like a car passing, like figuring out these like sonic things to just being able to do like wizard level shit production wise. It's like a really cool thing to witness up close. Because again, like I don't know I think that if you're a person that's really in tune with production and his production specifically, you probably did pick up on stuff like that. But I think that for like the casual listener who just tapped in on Brooklyn Natty, maybe missed Yoma Army because they don't really fuck with Bandcamp, and like, and then even like they probably don't glean as much enjoyment. But then even when you think about the fact that the Tanya Morgan records are all sequenced and a lot of times mixed, and most times like most times mixed by Von. Like there's like there's just been like it's just been fun watching it become like an expert level skill, as opposed to just like I'm on Cool Edit and Fruity Loops and we're figuring stuff out together. You know what I'm saying? It's really cool to look at.
Von, did you mix this? Did you mix and master this?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Because Don and Von,
thank you,
one of the best mixed and mastered albums, not just like of your career, but like of anybody's this year. Like,
wow, thank you.
One of the
Joe from the other guys mastered it. I mixed it, and Joe from the other guys mastered it. Yeah.
Okay, it's
thank
clean.
You.
It's so clean. So it's shout out to that. I mean, what I was gonna say is
we come a long way from moonlighting, man.
Yeah,
moonlighting sounds crazy, but yeah. So that's like a big thing that I try to take pride in, knowing how far we've come, and to like our early fans, when they went and got like the Bridge EP, they're like, oh shit, I can play this in my car this time, because you couldn't even play Moonlight in the car. That just sounded crazy in the car. And so that's a big compliment. You know what I mean? Thank you.
It's clean, and like Don said, there's a ton of craft, beat switches, ending interludes, There's all that, but at the end of the day, the cool thing to me about Von Pea production is you are the chef who always gives me what I ordered. You know,
Thank you. Thank you.
like that shit knocks. And like when
Thank you.
Elucid projects, like, oh, it's gonna be Elucid over shit that knocks. Like
Hmm.
it's the most hip hop thing. It's just him going nuts on these
That
tracks.
that Elucid project, we did that, and I was trying to like I was going for I wanted it to sound like Elucid just didn't grab a bunch of beats that could have been Tanya Morgan. I wanted to make it sound like these are beats that were made for Elucid.
Right.
So like that's what I was trying to do. I didn't want it to be like, oh man, this could have been Donwill could have had this beat. I want to be like, yo, these sound like Elucid beats that Von made. And so like I was just super happy that finally got to see the light of day, because I just knew it was a lot of good stuff on it that stood the test of time, stuff that we don't listen to 10 years later and cringe. Like that's saying a lot,
Right.
like
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
I can still listen to that and be like, yeah, let's put that out. You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff like me and Don joke about it, especially since we just did the retrospective of our albums. There's at least one song on almost every project we listen to, and it's like,
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to say, like, the stuff that you don't cringe at. And the Lucid project still pretty much sounds good. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, and there's like a bunch of new Elucid fans who've only heard him over a certain set of production and may think like, oh, this isn't like Messiah music or whatever. It's like a change for him.
Yeah.
They don't know how much of a sick person Elucid is, that he used to rap over punk beats and dubstep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just if you love Elucid now, dig into the weird older. Yeah,
Go
please.
get Sub Bass Diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is amazing. So, but to to Don and Vaughn it's kind of like an amazing buddy film.
I like that. I like that.
It's like I don't know. I've just been thinking about the Big Lebowski as a comparison, like basically.
Because what we always try to look at it, and forgive me, this is going to sound pretentious, but we try to do it like we try to do albums like a movie, because the way people listen to stuff now, you have to look at it like, hey, not a lot of people are going to listen to your album 100 times, but you might watch a movie once or twice and be like, yo, that movie was dope. I liked it. So I try to look at an album like, okay, people are going to hear this one time. So what are they going to remember?
Right.
Let's treat it like a movie, because you might watch a movie that you really liked one time and keep it moving. But if somebody asks about it, oh yeah, that shit was dope. And I mean, we have that. Even I try not to like feel bad about it, but we have like old fans that are like, yeah, man, I heard the album one time. That shit was dope though. It's like, hey man, as long as you heard it and was like, it was dope. But I got 15 Netflix movies to watch and 100 podcasts to listen to. And I just downloaded the new DLC for Call of Duty. I got all this shit to do, so I can't play this album that I like 100 times, which is fine. So yeah, I try to look at it like a movie. So it's a buddy cop film. I like that.
Yeah, it's a buddy film.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Don?
Oh, I was just gonna say to further that point, like we my bad, brain fart. But yeah, we just try to make sure that one listen that you get is a potent listen. You know what I'm saying?
Also it helps to, like, when it's time to go do the next project, if you think about it like, okay, that was a movie, or not even, it was an episode of a show or a pilot or whatever. Is this about to be a sequel? If not, well, what are we going to do to make this not just, like we did House Party? Are we trying to make Class Act? You know what I mean? Or are we trying to do some other shit? You know what I mean? So that's how we look at it too. So
I mean, well, it's the funny thing about movies is there's like there's the Oscar kind of movies, and there's like the movies you watch all the time. And so, like, if someone asks me what the best Denzel Washington movie is, I'm gonna say Malcolm X. I can't fuck with Malcolm
But
X.
you're not just watching it all the time.
No,
Right.
I'm watching
Yeah.
Eli, right? I'm watching
Right.
Eli more than watching that. So, like, this, you know, I started to realize that when I was doing like year-end lists or year-end discussions, that was like, yeah, it's a great album. It's about drug addiction. I never listened to that shit. Like, but this album, they're just spitting, but I've heard it 100 times. Like, I can't turn my back on that for that. So it was, this is one of those albums where, you know, yeah, by the end of the weekend, it felt like the underground had heard it 5-6 times. You know,
Yeah.
just everybody.
This time it did feel like that. That's all I can ask for, honestly. Like this time, it felt like people kept listening to Don and Vaughn. You know, like it wasn't like, oh, I checked that. You know, other times we put out other stuff and like, yeah, that shit was dope. But y'all are dope. Y'all make dope shit. Almost like a whatever. We know y'all are good. But this time, it seemed to like had connected for real. Where it's like people, there's a difference when people are like, yo, man, I keep listening to this. And I thought I was gonna just move on to the Drake. I thought I was just gonna move on to whatever the next hot topic is, you know, whatever it is. I thought I was just gonna get the next, you know, Griselda album and just play, you know, and then get the next one that week, and then get the next, you know, whoever. And it was like, yo, I got that, and I'm still playing Don and Vaughn. I got the new Currency, and I'm still playing Don and Vaughn. I got the new, you know, whoever, and I'm still playing Don and Vaughn. And that's more than I could have asked for, because I was just hoping, hey man, if we put out another good one, y'all can say, hey man, they've been doing this for this long and they're still good. That's really all I wanted. And it's overperformed as for what I was expecting. Like I wasn't expecting people to keep listening to it.
Yeah, I just know the consumption is a lot different these days. So people are not just buying their CD and popping it in and riding with it. Like people are not downloading MP3s and playing them on their phone. Like now people they move on a lot faster, or they piecemeal the album where like, cool, I like these 3 songs, I'll put these on the playlist that I listen to, and it'll be one of several playlists that I may or may not get to depending on my mood for the day, blah, 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 blah. It's not like the thing that the way I consume kind of the same way. I mean, I do ingest a lot of music. I just check out a lot of stuff to see what's out there. But when it's time to listen to an album, like I still just try to play a full album at a time. Like today I played Tyler's album, and I listened to Jay Worthy's album, and I listened to Mint Plus's album to hear some new stuff. But for the most part, like I play a whole thing. I try to play the whole thing if I'm going to listen to it. And with that said,
unless your album is 35 songs, I'm not playing that whole.
Yeah, I'm not like, so even to that effect, Tyler's album is amazing. I rarely get through the whole thing in one sitting. You know what I'm saying? Like I usually have to start from somewhere that I want to like close out the album, or just be comfortable knowing I won't finish the album. And you know, I just know that it's just been kind of cool knowing that with consumption being the way that it is, people have decided to invite this album into their lives in a way where they grapple with it. You know what I'm saying? If they just play the whole thing, if they have it in playlist, but they're listening to it continuously, and it's not just a one and done type deal. And it might come at the intersection of just kind of like, I don't know what is like lined up for this album to be this one, but I'm thankful. You know, I'm really happy it's resonating.
We kind of went back to our bag of tricks. Like I don't know what you want to call it, but like we hadn't worked with, like myself and Brick produced most of the album. We hadn't done that since Brooklyn Addy, I think. Right. So I think that does play a role. Like for some people that have been listening to us for a long time, you can hear that it's back to Vaughn did the beats, Brick did the beats, Aeon did the beats for the most part. And I think that plays a role in it, you know. And
absolutely.
Other than that, I honestly have no clue. I like, as much as I say we know what we're doing, we know that we didn't make some whack shit, but we don't know if people are gonna, you know, draw to it. That I'll never say I knew this was gonna work, because I don't know what's gonna work. I just know it's not whack. You know what I mean?
That's key.
Yeah.
No, it's it's interesting, and there's a lot of the interesting thing about Tanya Morgan is that the sense of humor is very sneaky in Tanya Morgan. Uh, there's a lot of funny stuff built in, or funny moments built in, that sneak up to you in repeated listens where you're like, I was listening to City for Sale, and there's a point in a verse where, Von, you just start talking about the interlude on Cuban Links, and you just start going like, they bit nah shit. And you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
start laughing in the middle of the verse about that interlude. And I was just like, who does this? This is so cool. And
Yeah,
so
man.
the version of that here
Kids
is
on the covers, they bit nah shit.
the version of that on Don and Vaughn is grown man rap, right? Which is like yelled
Yeah.
throughout. How did grown man rap come about? How did that?
Because I think it's funny to me that hip hop, especially our age group, and people old, our age group,
Mhm.
because everybody's kind of our age, really. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
all of the biggest people, the youngest of like the big rappers. Well, now I won't say that now, because now you have like a new crop coming in, like the little babies and all of them. But
Yeah.
like before that, it was like Drake is in his 30s, Kendrick's in his 30s, um, 2 Chainz is in his 40s, like everybody's in their 40s. And it's like when we put out something, or other like underground, whatever you want to call us, we put out something, they'd be like, yeah, man, this is that grown man rap. And it's like, yo, everybody's older than us. So
Right.
what the
Yeah.
fuck are they talking about? Like, what are they talking about? If that's not grown man rap. So for me, it was almost like I come from the class of De La Soul, like that dry humor of almost like making fun of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of making fun of the idea, like, oh, this is that grown man rap, when really we're just adults talking about our adult life. And if some rich rapper, it doesn't sound like a grown man, that might be because, they say when you get rich, you kind of stay the age you were. So maybe that's why I like Little Bow Wow still 15 or whatever.
Right.
It's like, but Little Bow Wow's paying bills and paying taxes and all that stuff too. So I mean, Kendrick and them, they talk about paying taxes and taking care of their kids, but for some reason, people like us and the Little Brothers and the Coolie Highs, they'll be like, yeah, man, that's that grown man rap. And for me, it's like, man, that's just something people say because it's a thing to say. And
Right.
I mean, we still rap about going out and getting drunk and having one night stands and and shit like that. So like it'll be a song like that, like Dirty Stay Out, which is literally about one night stands. And I'll be like, yeah, this is grown man rap. It's like, no, this is a college kid song. But it's just a label. So it's me more or less kind of making fun of it. I'm not actually saying this is grown man rap. I'm making fun of it. And and sequencing the album, putting the album together, that kind of became, again, from the class of De La Soul and people like that, that kind of became like the I Can't Be Your Lover, or like, like when De La would have things that were going. So Kick Some Grown Man Rap became that. And I can tell you exactly how it happened. It was an ad lib on the intro. And when I was sequencing the album, because Fresh Lemonade is such a serious record, I was like, okay, well, how does So Good come on? Because like we need not a comic relief, but how do we go into So Good now? So I said, kick some grown man rap. And I just did that. And then at the end of the album, because Don always says a thing we do that's like we do work separately too. And I know that a thing that Don likes, he's always like, what's the Easter egg at the end of the album? How does the album end? Like what's the thing that happens at the end? So for Don, I put again, kick some grown man rap, and then the CD stopped spinning. Like again, we're in our 40s, so we still look at it like what happens before the CD stops spinning, although nobody's really playing it off a CD. Or like the needle picks up. So you get the kick some grown man rap, needle picks up, CD stops spinning. And that's like, we call that the Easter egg. And So that's how that happened. Really, it came about because I needed something to break up after Fresh Lemonade, and then I wanted something to be like a little Easter egg at the end, and it turned into like the little running joke of the album, pretty much.
Yeah, no, and to build on that, Fresh Lemonade might be the most Tanya Morgan song of all time. In
Shout
terms
out to
of
Clint Taylor, he produced that one.
that is, I mean, because it's so serious in terms of what you're discussing, without ever throttling down the speed and impact of the song. It's got a very fun, satisfying hook, but you understand as the song progresses the meaning behind that hook. How and by the way, that's not the whole album has some really ill, serious shit in it. That's like, one of my favorites. I think it was Don. Quit hating on so and so's leotard. They over there.
Oh no, that
minding-
was me.
Oh, that was you. How we
Yeah.
involved? Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but Don is the I was saying, like, we're both like, if we're like the cool uncles, Don is like telling you he's giving you the life lesson. I'm the one sneaking you a beer, and Don is the one telling you some shit you need to know on this album. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. I mean, in Fresh Lemonade, they fetishize and actively try eliminating. We just try and turn lemons into lemonade. Yeah. That's
Yeah, man, poetic. Don,
Yeah.
like, I'm not trying to like butter him up, but like I told him this before. Throughout our career, it's been stuff that this dude has said that I like got a lump in my throat. So like sometimes he'll just know, not sometimes he'll know how to say things, but sometimes he'll like go even further and it'll be like, damn, you really just summed it up just now. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a line that he said in 2004 when we made the song Hip Hop is Dead, and he turned his verse into like looking at hip hop in its casket, which has been done a million times now. But back then it was still fresh. And he was like, when no one else would mention us, he spoke highly of. And I was like, yo, that says so much. And people don't even understand, like, this is us. This hip hop thing is us pulling ourselves up. When no one else would mention us, he spoke highly of. And like he said, like, they fetishize and actively try to eliminate. Like, you want to be us, you don't want to be us. And we're just trying to, like, hip hop is lemons out of lemonade. And so many, the American experience for us is lemons out of lemonade. I mean, lemonade out of lemon, you know what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
And it's like, and it's like he just nailed it. He nailed that shit. You know what I mean?
There's I don't like when Bond sent the track, I remember I sat with it for a long, like this was the one that I probably wrote last, or like just it took me a while to figure out the angle, just mainly because it's such a tragic song, but the tragedy is in knowing what could have happened in either scenario. You know what I'm saying? Like the tragedy is in knowing that scenario exists, and it's not like a thing where, because again, like Von's verse is complex in its storytelling, just like the character development and how like you had a black cop coming to help the kid and all that stuff, and it's just like this. Like the tragedy of it is not that. The tragedy of it is that it just simply exists. It's that, like, you know what I'm saying? It's that they fetishize us and they want to kill us. It's like, like it's just like, so you exist in this weird world where like you're wanted for very specific things and otherwise you can be discarded. And even if you have those specific things, you still aren't really worth much else. So like the tragedy of the song is just like, how do you still continue to just wake up, face the world, and do amazing shit in a world that's not really for you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's for me to anyway. Like when Von sent the record, it was just like one of those ones that I just wanted to like really figure out how to discuss the driving factors and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, because it's such a poignant not such a topic that you can be poignant on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, it was like we were trying to it wasn't supposed to be, it definitely wasn't supposed to be like, hyper dramatic or whatever. But we also didn't want it to be, it wasn't necessarily supposed to be a sad song. It wasn't supposed to be an angry song. It's supposed to be, we are presenting these facts, and you know where we stand because we are two Black men making the song. But let me lay this out for you. And all you got to do is listen. You know what I mean? It's not like, let's go over here and protest. Let's go over here and burn some shit down. It's not less, oh, well, it wasn't any of that. It's like, these are the facts. This is what we know. This is what we've been through. This is what we see. This is what is happening, has happened, and will happen. And do with that information what you will. You know what I mean? And you create how you feel about it. Like, it wasn't like we're trying to make you feel something. It's like, this is the information and you take that with you. You know what I mean?
Well, and the reason I called it the most Tanya Morgan song of all time is that it's not in Tanya Morgan to make that a sad song, because you want people to know that Tanya Morgan doesn't give up, right? That,
Yeah.
That we turn lemons into lemonade. Just because all these facts are real doesn't mean that we're cashing in our chips and that it's hopeless, right?
Right.
When you talked about De La Soul, what I was thinking is Stakes is High is my favorite De La Soul album. And part of that reason, it's not on a critical level. That was the album I shoveled snow to.
Uh-huh.
When I was forced to shovel snow and I brought the boombox outside, it was Stakes is High.
Nice.
It was fun to listen to, but they were as pissed as I was to be shoveling snow.
Yeah. It's like, it's just the multi, it's just all the dynamics, like this, the dynamic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it too. Like, I don't see how people I feel like people go out of their way to not be dynamic, to not just cover all bases of who they are. Like, because you hear it, sometimes people just sound like cartoon characters, or you just sound like a character. And it's like, but what about the rest of you? And like people that, all of the artists that people like the most, like some of the most popular artists, they get into like a multi-dimensional bag. Somebody like a J. Cole, you'll hear vulnerable stuff from him, and then he'll also brag about some shit. And then he'll tell you, he'll tell you all kinds of shit. Kendrick will tell you all kinds of shit. Even the Jay-Z of today will give you a 444. And even back then he gave you vulnerable stuff. It wasn't as vulnerable, but because you have to be multi-dimensional. And like, I look at a lot of people, and you may have fans right now, but if you're just a character, you're not gonna get far. You know what I mean?
Like you mentioned Jay-Z. Like when I think about Jay-Z, Regrets and You Must Love Me, like those were like
early on.
Those were like early on. Like, we were the character of Jay-Z as like, just the street hustler building an empire was so fully developed and fleshed out that for him to like let those two things be a part of the canon, where it's just like, oh, and by the way, this is also part of the journey. Like that, those are two of my favorite records ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. and it is largely because it stood in such drastic contrast to everything else, but also it's just like vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that that's what everybody wants, is to connect to what they're listening to and connect to the artist. And not a lot of artists, like I'll just say there's a lot of empty calories on albums. You know what I'm saying? Like, albums just aren't necessarily lean. It's tailored to be playlisted. It's tailored to perform because it's a product. You know what I'm saying? It's not just me and Von Pea deciding we're gonna make an album because we feel like making an album. It's you have a job, and your job is fulfilling the requirements of label X, and we need XYZ songs to be an album. You know what I'm saying?
Our stuff always comes from like we just try to just be real about it. We try to like
Yeah.
where are my emotions at today? You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
granted, we definitely feel a responsibility and an urgency to make the music. So it's not like we're just sitting around, but you know, it's our motives when making music are just different. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna quote I've decided my favorite lyrical record on the album is Boots in Practice.
Definitely. The Donwill show.
So I mean, on you trying to describe things that you've never seen, just show up with wide eyes and keep your hearts clean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a little later, clickbait hustle can't kill what it can't catch. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
But
holy
you know,
Thank you.
thank you to touch on that. I mean, like my thing is just stay curious. You know what I'm saying? Like, and articulating that's kind of like me articulating that in a more elaborate way. But yeah, just stay curious. You know, like don't speak about things you don't know. Just go figure out something and then talk about it after you figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I mean when I say I hand the 19-year-old the beer and Don is like, hey, you know what? Never drink liquor after beer. Like he'll teach you something too. So it's like I'm like, hey, come over here, let's hang out. And Don is like, yeah, we kicking it. But yo, show up with wide eyes and keep your hearts clean. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of stuff all throughout the album. You know what I mean?
yeah, there are definitely like write that down and live by it moments in Don and Von.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when you were talking about empty calories, I was thinking, like, so I came up in the local slam poetry scene, not doing like not just as a part of it, trying to help people and like be a part of the thing. And I would see people kind of, when they got on the stage, they would become improved versions of themselves, right? They would
Mm-hmm.
become a hero to the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that when I came up with my first book, it would be called The Miserable Jerk Collection, just so I could give people some raw shit of how people lived. Like, not everybody's a hero, and that's okay. Like, there's, what is it? There was, Vaughn, did you say, like, I robbed a lot of cars to find me?
That was Don. Yeah.
Don, sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites too. Like that's one of
an
my
incredible
favorite
line.
verses too.
Incredible line.
Yeah, you know, like I've been through several. You try to find yourself. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, trying to find yourself, figure shit out. You do some dumb shit. And as an adult, you do dumb shit because you're always evolving. You're always growing and changing. So you know what I'm saying? Like me stealing cars and breaking into shit and like trying to like do whatever is the same as me trying to figure out, like just me trying to figure out some adult shit. It's all coming from the same place. It's just how do you see yourself in the right now?
Yeah. And what I like about that too is like in that same verse, you related to like being a dad. And it's like, okay, well, now I have to teach another human some shit. This is what I've been through. And now I got to teach another human being how to get where I am. You know what I mean? And
right.
That's like, again, that's some more vulnerability. It's just like, yo, I was this kid, now I have a kid, and now I got to figure this out. You know what I mean? And that goes into like when you become an adult and realize your parents are just people. And like, that's how I hear that verse, and that's why I love it. You know what I mean?
I mean, After School Special is unbelievable in terms of that. Like the way it starts, even smokers had candy, dealers had candy. Maybe dope was so new, the hood was still family. Like just the loss, the sense of loss in that is so powerful.
And that's 100% true because it was just one day when we were I think we were wrapping the album October 2018 because it was supposed to come out. No, it might have been 2019 because it was supposed to come out 2020. So I want to say maybe 2019 we were wrapping the album and it was around Halloween. And I was thinking when I was a kid, we were in like the bad neighborhood, quote unquote, and we knocked on everybody's door And some of those doors are the trap house.
Right.
Some of those doors are like the fiend's house, not to reduce them to just being on drugs, but you know, like somebody would answer the door and clearly this is a person that's an addict, but they got candy.
Right.
And there's nothing in the candy, and they're looking at us saying how cute we look, and they're giving us candy that's perfectly fine, and they go back to, you know, dealing with their addictions or whatever. And
Right.
then you got the people that was in the house that, you know, they you know, I was born in 81, so you know, you answer the door with your Filas velour suit on and your big rope gold chain or whatever, and we know that person sells drugs, but guess what? They got candy too, and they're like, oh, they're giving you the full candy bar.
Yeah.
But it's like everybody is participating in this community thing.
That's
And
awesome.
it's not just what you see in Juice or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not just Boys in the Hood. It's like the hood is family. The hood was family. And you know, I just want to capture that.
If you look at, even if you look at Fresh Lemonade, like reference Fresh Lemonade in my verse, what I was saying earlier about it being like, you know, you got to figure out they either want to kill you or they want everything you have. Like that Von's verse is in that middle area. It's in that gray area. It's in the area where they just kind of, you're kind of expected to just live there and be there, but not thrive. You know what I'm saying? And like, instead you find community and like no matter what they put in the community to tear people apart and like tear shit down, it's like, well, no, these are still my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And then you have somebody that moves into the neighborhood who doesn't understand that those are your neighbors, and they're just kind of like, well, that guy's a drug dealer. No, that guy's Mark from fucking apartment 3B. He sells drugs because he didn't really have a choice. I
mean, look, Mark's still doing some fucked up shit, but Mark's still part of the community.
Right.
Like, you know, he's not just, he's still, again, it goes back to like, he has dimensions, he has dynamics to him. It's like, he doesn't wake up like that Black Sheep skit. You wake up, brush your teeth, and shoot your mother.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Mark the drug dealer. He had candy. The person that's on drugs, she had candy, and you know, and that was a real thing. So I put it in the song. I was like, yo, I never thought about that like that, and I wanna say that. I want to figure out how to say that in the song. So it was just randomly ended up with kind of a Halloween song, damn near. You know.
It's beautiful, and the whole thing about longevity in there is fabulous. Before you start calling a brother an OG, I'm from the projects, so getting old is fine to me. Longevity is dope too. You can't see it, so you try and say it's less cool. That's just such a that great. It's 2020 perspective.
Man, that was around the time of when, you know, and I think they gotten older and they starting to think about it different now. So I don't mind saying the names, but like when the Yachties and them first came out, and they were like, I'm supposed to be 25 still rapping, man. That's that old shit, and it's like, bro, you sound crazy. You know what I mean? And I think they're looking at that different now. It comes like with maturity, but I was talking to like cats like them. It was almost kind of like that Intro to the Fall Offs record where you know, to go back to Cole again, where he's like, hey man, the young cats, you have a whole life ahead of you. You have a career ahead of you if you want it. Don't sell yourself short. Don't try to make it cool. Don't pretend that you don't want to try. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like again, we can go back to the Locks and Dipset thing. It's like, it's cool to try. Like this time being cool is not the way to go this time. You know, like show me your professional shit. Show me you're trying. Show me that you care. That's cool. And like, even with the pandemic, like I feel like music made a comeback damn near. Because if you go back to pre-pandemic, it still was like, it was about all the antics more than anything. And when we all got trapped in our house, the DJ started saving us, and people catalog battles like verses started saving us. Music started saving motherfuckers during the pandemic. And then you got literally one of the best verses, Being Cool, lost. And I love Dipset. Clearly no disrespect to Dipset, but it's like, So like, that was me talking to the younger cats, like, yo, stop acting like you don't still want to be here. Stop acting like you don't want to be professional. Like you grew up on Wayne. Wayne been out for 20 years. You want to be out 20 years. Don't act like, yo, I'm just here to get my bag and be out. No, you don't. You want to be out. You still want to be around. You want to be cool. You want to be alive. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's what that was.
It kind of feels, and it's so yes, having set this up for a while, like I've seen waves of this, right? New people being like, I don't care about old hip hop and I'm not going to be old hip hop. And it kind of feels like when you're young and you don't want to admit you're in love with anybody, you don't want relationships, you're like, no. And then like eventually you grow out of it and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to admit, I love this. I love this person.
Like I was waiting for like Earl and them to get older. I was waiting for Earl and them to hit 30. Cause now, like, people like Vince Staples, all of them, when you watch them now with more perspective, it's like, yo, man, these motherfuckers, they're not saying these young motherfuckers yet, but they're like, yeah, man, these dumb motherfuckers, blah, blah, blah. What you're basically saying is these young kids don't know nothing, but you don't want to admit you're saying that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when I was 30, I was like, man, these motherfuckers, and that just is care. It's care. And there's nothing wrong with caring, man. It's not, maybe it's corny to say still, but when you're young, you don't want to act like you care for whatever reason.
Totally.
But you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, back to, so Don and Von, the last real Don and Von question I got interested in, the end of Tanya in the Sky with Diamonds and We Go High, there's a beat switch into an extra verse by one of you. Don on Tanya in the Sky, Von on We Go High. I think. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and Don did all those he produced the interludes too, yeah.
So how did that come about? That's such a cool touch to what
I think, okay, on You Get What You Pay For, the last full Tanya Morgan album, Don had produced, because we did skits for that album where it was like supposed to be a telethon, and Don produced all the background music on those.
Yeah.
And me, I was like, man, I don't want Don to think, I don't want him to think I keep hitting him up for background beats. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yo, let's get these, like, we have the album, but let's get some beats from you on the album. But let's use those to tie the album together. And at first, if I'm not mistaken, Don, your first thought was these are all going to be scratch interludes for Brick Beats to cut on every song.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's how we have cuts on, like the one I did when I was doing what we call my Nipsey Hussle impression, where I was doing like rapping and taking all the spaces. I was doing my Nipsey flow, and like Brick is cutting in between all of them. It's because Brick had cut to the whole track. And it turned into, yo, let's rap to these beats.
Right.
But how can let's still incorporate Brick. And we had Germicide come in and do one. And at the end of Reaching the Sky, we just left that one raw. But yeah, it was all like, let's rap to these beats. But let's use them to like bridge the album together. It's almost like on in Rubber Souls, how we had the rap intermissions on that album. So it's kind of like a continuation of that. It's like us morphing everything together to make it make sense. Like the interludes with us rapping, it's kind of like Rubber Souls, but the production being Don ties because he did the interludes on the last album. So it's like we almost combined interlude traits from two different albums, I guess, and turned it into, that.
Yeah.
And now hopefully Don is going to produce a project for me. So.
Oh, that would be dope.
It's happening.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
That's awesome.
And like I said, and we're producing the Rob Cave, aka Spec Boogie project. We're producing that together too. So
that's
more Donwill beats on the way. And he also had a critically acclaimed space project that was his shit this year too. We support each other's shit.
That's awesome. No, it's it's a hell of a journey, and it's just one of those, like, in terms of movies, it's what I would call a rewatchable classic, right? Like,
Thank you.
My Cousin Vinny comes on, and you just like, all right, let's watch
Yeah,
this. Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I just hope
man.
people,
That's awesome for real. That's all. Like I said, we just wanted people to hear it and be like, they still got it. And for people to hear it, say we still got it, and to still be listening to it, and some people being like, yo, this is a classic. It's like, what more can you ask for, man? Like, as far as what we do, like, what more can you ask for? You know?
right? Yeah. I was
Short
gonna
of it going platinum or something.
great. Yeah, that's a good point. So,
That's crazy.
but yeah, I was gonna say that in terms of consumption habits, like everybody's bouncing around, but you also have these times in your life where there's downtime. You don't have to listen to new stuff, and you're like, now I just need to do some dishes. What am I gonna, listen to while I do the dishes? Or like, my nickname for that is the bullpen, right? That like I
Yeah.
have a bunch of stuff in the bullpen that like I shut off my critic brain and I just enjoy the shit out, you know.
Mhm.
And that's how I got to love YL and on all these other things. So,
Mhm.
and yeah, Don and Von was immediately running the bullpen in terms of just enjoying it, rocking it out. And then I saw
That's dope.
Alaska tweeted about getting to the listening party and how great it was, and just everybody's loving it. So
Yeah, man. That's I'm just happy as hell that it's worked out for real. Like just like I said, man, what more could we ask for in terms of like we've been doing it this long, and it's got a dope ass response, and even our peers are like we're like we all motivate each other. So even having some of our peers be like, yo, man, your new shit inspired me. I'm about to go make some new shit. I haven't made anything in a year or whatever. And it's like, that's dope as hell. Like,
right. No, the
Yeah,
joke,
dope.
the joke that I have with my friends is that like hip hop is the only good, well functioning thing in America. It's- yeah, the
Right.
only healthy thing in America is hip hop for some reason, and it's because they haven't broken the community of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
That it's still at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter if I don't like you. If you killed it on stage, I'm gonna lose it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I care about the art. I care about you know how this is done.
Right.
And, yeah. So the cool thing is that with Tanya Morgan, like there's a bunch of people listening to you for the first time because of
Yeah. I read a review today. Not a review, but like somebody had left like a review. And it's on like the Bandcamp. And I think he said, I know Vaughn from Vaughn C's, I know Donwill from Laura's song. And I just wasn't listening to anything else. And I just so happened to stumble on Laura's song is from 10 years ago. And Lord knows Vaughn C's is from 50 years ago. And he was like, I just so happened to stumble on Don and Vaughn. And it's one of my favorite shits this year. And I was like, man, you from back in the day, but you wasn't even keeping up. Doesn't even matter. You came back today. You know what I mean? That's dope. Because today matters.
exactly.
So, right.
no, and the Don and Von did make me feel terrible in the sense that when I realized it was great, I was like, how long has Tanya Morgan been around? And I was like, and I realized I was like, I don't really vividly remember hip hop before Tanya Morgan. It's like
Wow.
it's like patches, it's like Slick Rick in his grandmother's fur coat, and it's like
Yeah.
and it's patchy, I was like, man, I've been taking Tanya Morgan for granted, like, but
And that's
but-
another trick, man.
totally.
That's a more like we talked about that. It was like tortoise in the hair, man. Like that was another reason, like the approach of doing a retrospective, doing like releasing the track listing with like all of our clips of all our videos through the years. it was a trick to be like, you didn't even know we've been around this long. Ha ha ha. We longevity, we've been here.
We didn't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we were marveling at the fact we've been around. I think it was when the moonlighting anniversary happened. We were just like, what? This can't be right.
15, yeah. Yeah. So like really that like to me, that was like that was a skullduggery ass trick where people are like, I've been listening to these motherfuckers for 15 years. How?
Well, yeah.
And like, yep, you have.
No, the wild part is, so I live in Maine. I've lived in Maine most of my life. And so, like, I don't live in New York. I don't know who's cool or not cool in New York. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, I have to hear third hand when somebody says something weird about somebody. But, like, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Tanya Morgan in my life. Anybody I've ever bumped into who knew of Tanya Morgan was like, still great.
Hey, man.
Guy, Farrah Monta's manager and partner, we were talking to him years ago. We were playing You Get What You Pay For album, the demos for him. And he was like, man, you know, a good thing about y'all been out for a while, but there's no whack juice on your name. And he was like, yeah, man, you know, you go around and people don't really have too many bad things to say, man. It ain't no whack juice on y'all. So hold on to that. Try to keep it that way.
Yeah, you know,
so I think about that, you know.
I attribute that to drinking water and minding my business. I don't what's the infamous Logic quote? I don't fuck with anybody. I don't fuck with nobody.
Man, just
like
try to be like a good hang. Like Don, like you said to me one day, you was like, man, it's about being a good hang, yo. Don't get caught up on your own shit too much. And you know?
Yeah. And like, you know, like my thing is I don't know. We definitely have rapport and relationships with a bunch of people in the music community, and like, you know, we just get in where we, you know, like it's I don't know how we've managed to keep such a clean reputation, but I think it's just because again, like we don't really come with intentions, like bad intentions. If we're around, it's only to add to the environment, give something, and then like, you know, leave it better than it was. It's not about how do we extract some value from this thing. It's just about how do we add value, you know?
I don't know why this metaphor is coming to me, but like Mark Maron on his podcast, whenever a comedian would come on, he would start making fun of them about terrible album covers. So he would be like, he'd be like, you proud of that one? In the tuxedo throwing bubbles in the air? Because that ain't you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And like, because his whole point was like, if that ain't you, why did you do it? Like, don't fucking sell yourself short for
That's
this.
funny.
And you guys just don't have any of that shit. If you listen to, you know, Moonlighting, if you go to Brooklynati, if you go to Rubber Souls, it's a clear progression of these people. And
it's like, wait, you're just hanging out with us on every album. Even if it's a concept album, you're just hanging out with us, you know?
And that's what to overthink the cover for a second. The cool part is you sitting on the moon looking at the earth is that's kind of how Tanya Morgan felt in terms of you've never been caught up in a wave of music. It's not like, oh man, Tanya Morgan, have you heard their hyphy now? Like that doesn't right?
Yeah. That's one of the like we say with the cover, we like to say that it's you can interpret it however you want, but that is one of the interpretations. It's just like, man, we don't think we better than anybody, but we are just in the corner kind of just looking at what's going on. Not because we think we better, but just because we trying to, like, you know, keep a footing, like, all right, what's going on over here? All right, what do we do? How do we react to this? Not adapt to it, but how do we react to it?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it's better to kind of be in your own space, doing your own thing long term, because movements and waves like that, there's high tide and low tide, and you break with the low tide. So you know, sometimes people get washed away in that. So you guys
absolutely
were never a part of that. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This album really puts the career in perspective. Everybody buy Don and Von. Get me a grown man rap hat.
We've been thinking about should we make merch that says that
I
yeah, 'cause
think
we getting some merch together, so
Grown man rap, exclamation point. Do it.
word.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on. Anything else to plug? Anything else people should know?
Yeah, just Don and Von are still out. We got the No Tricks video coming soon. We have you know, and we're not going into hibernation. You know, we're gonna keep going. And
yeah,
we know we got stuff planned, you know.
we got stuff on the way coming out, but right now, if you enjoy Don and Von, that Von P and Elucid are the Dirty Deacon, and TSLP is out too. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you want to, if you heard it and you want to hear more, or if you're just looking for something else to listen to, that's a great companion piece.
And the legendary is still rocking. We got stuff coming. Shay Grand's coming. Spec Boogie, Tanya Morgan's coming. Spec Boogie and other people. Spec Boogie and
Small Professor.
legendary hip hop producers that I won't say yet. I'm not talking about us, other people. We got coming. We got a lot coming, you know, as a collective. Man, go get the Arm & Hammer and Alchemist album, Haram. Man, we out here, man. The legendary is still the legendary, yo.
Yeah, we working.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. It's been amazing to do this, and yeah, I would just say, you know, everybody cop up and support. Yeah, the people you're enjoying.